The cafe smelled like cinnamon and rain. I got there early, hoping she'd walk in, smiling like she used to. When Mara finally showed up, she wasn't smiling. She sat down across from me, eyes tired, hands wrapped around a cup she didn't drink from. "Ethan," she said softly, "thanks for coming." I tried to laugh. "You make it sound like I had a choice." She didn't smile. That's when I knew. Something was ending. "Mara," I said, "you sound like someone rehearsing bad news. Just say it." She looked down, tracing the rim of her cup. "I think I've outgrown us." The words hit harder than I expected. No warning, no build-up, just clean and sharp, like glass cutting through silence. "What?" I whispered. "Outgrown us." She nodded, her voice breaking a little. "You're still you. You love in the same way. You see the world like it's a song you can fix. I used to love that. But now, I need something different." I blinked, trying to find air. "Different? You mean someone else?" Her lips trembled, then stilled. "Maybe, but even if there wasn't, this would still be happening." I stared at her, feeling my heartbeat in my throat. "You could have told me sooner." "I tried," she whispered. "You didn't want to hear it." I leaned back, my hands shaking under the table. "So, that's it? After 5 years, it's just done?" "It's not just 5 years," she said quietly. "It's 5 years that changed both of us. You just didn't see how much." I laughed, bitter and tired. "You're right. I didn't, because I was too busy believing in us." Her eyes glistened, but she didn't cry. "You'll always be my favorite, almost," she said. The words cracked something deep inside me. "Almost what?" I asked. "Almost forever." I wanted to hate her right then, wanted to say something cruel, something that would make her regret every syllable. But all that came out was silence. I watched her fingers tighten around her phone. She stood up slowly.
"Yeah, I'm sorry, Ethan."
"No," I said, voice trembling. "You're not. You're relieved." She froze, eyes wide. I could see the truth flicker there. "Maybe I am," she whispered, "but I'll still miss you." "Don't," I said. "Missing me doesn't count if you chose to lose me." She looked away, shoulders tense. "You'll understand one day," she said, forcing a smile, "probably when it's too late." She hesitated for a second, then walked toward the door. Every step felt like an echo of something once beautiful, turning hollow. I wanted to chase after her, but my legs wouldn't move. The rain outside was louder than before. People talked, laughed, ordered coffee. The world didn't care that mine had just ended. When she reached the door, she turned back one last time. "Ethan." "What?" I asked, though my voice barely carried. She opened her mouth like she wanted to say something else, but only shook her head. "Take care of yourself." Out. And then she was gone. I sat there for a long time, staring at her untouched cup, her napkin still folded neatly beside it. My reflection in the window looked like someone I didn't recognize, quiet, broken, half empty. The barista came over. "You okay, man?" "Yeah," I lied. "Just finishing something." He nodded and walked away. I pulled out my notebook, the one where I used to write songs for her. My hand trembled as I wrote down the words she'd left me with. "You'll always be my favorite," almost. It looked almost poetic, almost beautiful, but mostly it just hurt. Asterisk, the first night after she left, I didn't sleep. Her words kept replaying in my head like a song stuck on a broken loop. By morning, I was still staring at the ceiling when Noah barged into my apartment. He didn't knock. He never does. "Man, you look like hell," he said, throwing a paper bag of coffee and sandwiches on the table. "Thanks," I muttered. "That's what every broken heart needs." "Minusinisty." He raised an eyebrow. "You want lies instead?" I sighed. "Yeah, tell me she's coming back." Noah didn't answer right away. He sat down across from me, leaning back in the chair like he'd been here 100 times. "Mara." I nodded. "She finally did it, huh?" I looked at him, confused. "What do you mean, finally?" He hesitated, eyes softening. "Ethan, she's been gone for months, just not physically." I felt something tighten in my chest. "You knew?" "I saw it," he said quietly. "You didn't want to." I leaned forward, my voice low. You could have told me. And say what? He asked. Hey man, your girlfriend's already halfway out the door. He'd have punched me. He wasn't wrong. I probably would have. Instead I just said you should have said something anyway. He sighed. I did, in my own way. You just kept talking about how love needed faith. I looked away. Guess faith doesn't keep people from leaving. Noah leaned forward. Faith doesn't, but blindness does. The silence between us grew heavy. He opened one of the sandwiches, pushed it toward me. Eat something. I'm not hungry. Eat anyway, he said firmly. You look like a ghost trying to remember what being human feels like. I cracked a small smile. You always had a way with comfort. Yeah, it's called tough love. I stared at the coffee cup, tracing circles on the lid. She said she outgrew me, like I was a shirt that didn't fit anymore. He sighed. That's her excuse, not your truth. It feels like both, I said. I keep thinking of everything I did wrong. Every song I wrote that she never listened to. Every time she looked through me instead of at me. Ethan, he said gently, you didn't break her love. She just stopped holding it. Something about those words hit me deep. I swallowed hard. Then what am I supposed to do with all this? Start living again, he said. Not for her. For you. No. I let out a shaky laugh. That sounds easier when it's not your life burning down. Yeah, Noah said. But that's what I'm here for, to remind you it's not ashes yet. We sat in silence for a while. The city noise filtered through the window, horns, laughter, rain on glass. It all felt distant. Noah stood up suddenly. Come on, where? I asked. The roof? You need air. I followed him reluctantly. The rooftop was cold, but it smelled clean, like rain and freedom. We leaned on the railing, watching the wet streets below. Remember when we used to come up here and talk about the future? Noah said. Yeah, I whispered. I thought we'd have it all figured out by 25. He chuckled. And now I'm 27 and can't even figure out how to breathe without her name hurting. Noah nodded slowly. Pain's proof you cared. But it's not supposed to be your home. I looked at him, really looked. He wasn't pitying me. He was just there, unflinching. Thanks, man, I said softly. He smiled faintly. Don't thank me yet. I'm not letting you drown in your own heartbreak playlist. I laughed. The sound small, but real. You're a terrible therapist. Good thing I'm not charging, he said. For the first time in days, I felt air move through my lungs. The ache was still there, sharp, hollow, but it didn't own me completely. When Noah headed for the door, I stayed behind for a moment, staring at the skyline. Mara's voice still echoed somewhere inside me, but Noah's words were louder. Maybe that was a start. The days after, that rooftop talk felt slower, quieter. I tried to fill the silence with music, but every note reminded me of her. My guitar gathered dust in the corner like it was morning too. One night, Noah called again. You still avoiding your studio? He asked. Maybe, I said. The walls still echo her voice. He sighed. Then go make them echo yours. I didn't answer. He kept talking. Ethan, you can't heal in the same silence that broke you. His words stuck with me. That night I walked back to the studio for the first time since she left. The key felt strange in my hand. When I stepped inside, the smell of coffee and old wood hit me. Familiar but heavy. Everything was where I left it. The mic stand, the mixing board, her old lyric sheet on the desk. I picked it up, read the half-finished chorus she never completed. I whispered, You didn't even finish the song. Then I heard a voice behind me. Maybe you should. It was Claire. She worked in the same building, a sound engineer who usually kept to herself. Her eyes met mine, calm but curious. I blinked. Didn't hear you come in? You looked like you were talking to ghosts, she said with a small smile. Maybe I was. She stepped closer. Mind if I listen? To what? Whatever's still left in you? I looked at the guitar, then at her. There's not much left. Then start there, she said softly. Something about her tone, steady, unpitying, pushed me. I picked up the guitar and strummed. The sound was rusty, out of tune, but it was mine. Claire closed her eyes, listening. Play more. So I did. For the first time in weeks, my voice came out, shaky, raw. I don't know what I'm singing, I said between lines. That's the point, she replied. You're not performing. You're remembering how to feel. I stopped playing, breath uneven. She used to say music was the only place I was honest. Claire tilted her head. Maybe that's why it hurts so much. You didn't lose just her. You lost the part of yourself that sang for her. Her words hit deeper than I expected. I leaned against the desk, whispering, and what if I can't get that part back? You will, she said quietly. Not because of her. Because you're still here. Silence filled the studio again. But it wasn't empty anymore. Claire adjusted a mic cable and looked at me. If you want, I can help you record something new. No pressure. Just sound, no memories. I hesitated. Why are you helping me? She smiled faintly. Because I've seen too many people stop singing when someone stops listening. I looked at her, really looked. There was no trace of pity, only quiet understanding. All right, I said. Let's make something terrible together, she laughed. Terrible's a good start. We spent hours that night not writing a song, but building pieces of one. Every chord felt like a wound reopening and healing at the same time. She didn't talk much. She didn't have to. At one point, she looked at me and said, That melody, you felt that one, didn't you? Yeah, I said softly. It felt like breathing again. When I finally stopped, she smiled. Then that's your first song back. I looked down at my hands, still trembling. It doesn't sound like her anymore. Good, she said. It's supposed to sound like you. When she left, the studio was quiet again, but this time it felt alive. I sat there a while longer, strumming the same broken chord. It didn't hurt as much as before, and for the first time since Mara walked away. I didn't hate the silence. Asterisk. I thought I was finally moving until the past decided to call. It happened 2 weeks after that night with Claire. I was tuning my guitar in the studio when my phone buzzed. One missed call, Mara. I froze. My hands stopped moving. She hadn't called once since that night in the cafe, before I could think. It rang again. Against every ounce of logic, I answered. Ethan. Her voice was quiet, almost unsure. I swallowed hard. You lost the right to sound familiar, she sighed. I know, I needed to hear your voice. That's rich, I said bitterly. You wanted silence, remember? I didn't want this kind, she said. I laughed, dry and sharp. There's only one kind of silence after goodbye, Mara, the kind that keeps echoing. She hesitated. Can we meet, please? Every instinct screamed no, but my heart. It still wasn't fully done being stupid. Where? I asked the cafe, she said. Of course. The same place it all ended. When I got there, she was already sitting by the window. Same seat, same nervous fingers tracing her coffee cup. She looked smaller somehow, but her eyes still carried that quiet storm that used to undo me. Mara? I said flatly. You've got 5 minutes. She looked up, startled. I guess I deserve that. You deserve a lot more, I said. I didn't come to fight, she whispered. Then why did you come? She took a shaky breath. I heard your new demo. Claire posted a clip on her story. I blinked. You listened? I couldn't not, she said softly. It sounded like you again. I leaned back. So what, you want credit for the heartbreak? Her eyes flickered with guilt. No, I wanted to say, it's beautiful. Yeah, I muttered. Pain usually is when it's not yours. She flinched but didn't look away. You've changed. Had to, I said. You made sure of it. She nodded slowly. I didn't know how much you'd hate me. I don't hate you, I said after a pause. I just stopped pretending you were the best thing that happened to me. Her eyes filled with tears. I made mistakes, Ethan. We both did, I said. But I was willing to fix mine. She reached across the table, but I pulled back. Don't, I said quietly. You don't get to touch me with the same hands that let go? I didn't mean to hurt you that way. Then why did you? She looked at me, voice trembling. Because I was scared of becoming small. I thought leaving would make me free. Did it? Her silence was the answer. I exhaled slowly. You can't build freedom on someone else's ruins, Mara. She stared at her coffee. I still care about you. I almost laughed. You care about the version of me that made you feel less alone. But that guy's gone. Her tears finally fell. I deserve that. No, I said. You deserve peace. Just not with me. She looked up, eyes red but clear. You're writing again? I'm glad for that. I nodded. Yeah, and I'm singing for someone who doesn't leave halfway through the chorus. Claire, she asked. I met her gaze. Don't say her name like it's a threat. I'm not, she said softly. Just, I hope she never makes you feel the way I did. She won't, I said, because I'm not the same fool who thought love meant losing myself. She smiled faintly, bittersweet. Good. Then maybe I was the mistake that made you better. I stood up. Maybe, but I still wish you hadn't been. As I walked out, I didn't look back. The rain started again, soft and steady, like the world knew how to mourn for me. This time, though, I didn't stop walking. After seeing Mara again, the noise in my head got louder. Every song idea turned into an argument I never won. I stopped writing for a few days, pretending I was fine. I wasn't, Claire noticed. Of course she did. You're quieter, she said one evening in the studio. I'm working, I lied. She crossed her arms. You're staring at a blank screen, Ethan, I sighed, rubbing my temples. I saw her. Her expression softened. Mara? Yeah, and she wanted closure. I gave her something like that. Maybe too much of it. Claire sat beside me. You don't sound sure? Not, I admitted. It felt like saying goodbye all over again, but this time, I didn't break. I just felt tired. She nodded. That's progress. Doesn't feel like it. Progress rarely does, she said. It's quieter than pain, so it feels wrong. I looked at her, half smiling. You sound like you've done this before, she shrugged. Who hasn't loved someone who didn't stay? Her voice carried that kind of sadness that doesn't ask for pity. I respected that. I keep asking myself, I said softly, why her words still hurt when I already forgave her. Claire tilted her head. Did you forgive yourself? The question stopped me cold. For what? For loving her longer than she deserved. I laughed quietly, but it came out shaky. That's not something people forgive themselves for. That's just stupidity. She looked right at me. It's called being human. I didn't know what to say. The silence stretched between us, thick but calm. Finally, I spoke. You ever feel like you're haunted by someone's absence? She smiled faintly. Only until I realized I was the ghost keeping them alive. Her words lingered. Something in me cracked gently this time. So what did you do? I stopped trying to bury the pain, she said. I listened to it, until it got bored and left. I stared at her, then laughed softly. You make it sound easy. It wasn't, she said, but it was honest. It's honest. The word hit me like a melody I'd forgotten. I turned back to the screen, opened a new project file and said, help me record something now. Now, I said firmly. She grinned. What's the song? I smiled, a little unsure. I don't know yet. Maybe forgiveness. I picked up the guitar. The first few chords were messy, but they carried weight. Not sorrow, not rage, just truth. Claire adjusted the mic. Whenever you're ready. I closed my eyes and started to sing, not to her, not to Mara, just to myself. I kept chasing shadows, thinking they'd turn into light. I kept singing her name when it never sounded right. Now I see the silence wasn't her goodbye, it was mine. When I finished, the room was completely still. Claire didn't speak for a moment. Then she said softly, that sounded like healing. I smiled through the burn in my throat. It felt like it too. She leaned back, eyes gentle. You finally let yourself be the song. I nodded, feeling something lift from my chest. Guess I did. For the first time, I didn't think about whether Mara would hear it. The song wasn't for her. It was a letter to the version of me that thought love meant endurance. Claire smiled. You know, you should name it. Yeah, I said, thinking. Maybe. The sound of forgiving myself. Perfect, she whispered. We listened to the playback together. My voice cracked in places, the guitar slightly off tune, but it didn't matter. It was mine. When the last note faded, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Peace. Asterisk, I didn't plan to release the song. It was supposed to stay between me and the quiet. But Claire had other plans. She waited until the next morning, holding her phone like she was hiding a secret. I uploaded it, she said. I blinked. You what? Your song, she said quickly. Just the demo. It deserved to breathe. You didn't even ask me, I said, voice rising. I knew you'd say no, she replied calmly. But people needed to hear it, Ethan. I exhaled hard, pacing across the studio. You had no right, maybe not, she cut in, but I don't regret it. Why? Because it's beautiful, she said. Because someone out there needed to know they weren't the only one trying to forgive themselves. I stared at her, speechless. She handed me her phone. It's already at 20,000 plays. My heart stopped. You're kidding. Read the comments, she said. I scrolled, eyes catching the words, "This saved me tonight. I didn't know forgiveness could sound like this. Whoever you are." Thank you. I sank into the chair, overwhelmed. I didn't think anyone would care. Claire smiled softly. People always care when it's real. I looked at her, still stunned. What do I even say to that? She shrugged. Say nothing. Just keep being honest. The next few days were a blur. Messages poured in. A small label reached out, offering to feature the song. For the first time, people weren't just hearing my music, they were feeling it. Noah called when he heard. Dude, he said. You're blowing up, I guess, I said. Half laughing. You sound terrified. Maybe because I am, he chuckled. You've always been terrified of good things. Just let this one stay. I smiled faintly. It's weird, Noah. The song's about letting go, and now the world's holding on to it. Yeah, he said. That's how healing works. It spreads. After we hung up, I sat in the studio alone. The world outside was noisy. Notifications, calls, offers. But inside it was just me, the guitar, and that quiet sense of something right. Claire came in later, carrying 2 coffees. You look like someone who forgot how to celebrate. I'm still catching up, I said. She sat beside me. You do realize what's happening, right? People are connecting with the part of you you thought was broken. I looked down at my hands. It's strange. For so long I wanted her to hear me. Now everyone does. Claire smiled. And what do you want now? I thought about it. To keep singing, not to be heard, but to stay honest. She nodded slowly. That's the only reason that lasts. I sat there quietly, listening to the playback again. My voice still cracked, the guitar still slipped, but it felt perfect in its imperfection. Claire broke the silence. Do you miss her? I didn't answer right away. Sometimes, but not like before. It's like missing a song I've already sung. It's a beautiful way to put it. Guess I'm learning from the pain, I said, smiling faintly. She grinned. Guess the pain's finally paying rent. I laughed, shaking my head. You always know what to say. Just remind you of what you already know, she said softly. For a while, we just sat there, letting the music fill the space between us. No ghosts this time. No echoes of what could have been, just the sound of something real. I didn't know what tomorrow would bring. Maybe more attention, maybe nothing at all. But for once, it didn't matter. The world had finally listened. And more importantly, so had I. It's strange how quiet peace feels when you finally find it. Months had passed since the song went viral, and life had softened around the edges. The studio was alive again, not with ghosts this time, but with laughter, new projects, and the hum of something real. Claire sat across from me, dating a track, her hair tied up messily. You're spacing out again, she said, glancing at me. Just thinking, I replied. About how it all started, I said. How I thought I'd never recover. She smiled gently. And yet, here you are. Barely, I joked. No, she said softly. You made it through the hardest part, believing you couldn't. I leaned back in the chair. You ever think about how people change us without even trying? All the time, she said. The right ones leave warmth. The wrong ones leave lessons. Guess I got both, I murmured. She chuckled. That's called balance. We worked in silence for a while, only the music filling the air. Then Claire said, "You know, Mara messaged me last week." I froze. She what? She heard your song, she said carefully. Wanted to know if you were doing okay? I laughed softly, more surprised than hurt. What did you tell her? That you're not just okay, you're doing better than you ever were. I nodded slowly. That's fair. You don't sound angry? I'm not, I said honestly. It's weird, Claire. I thought I'd always hate her. But now, I just hope she's fine. Maybe that's forgiveness, not forgetting. Just letting go of the weight. She smiled. You finally stopped carrying her, I said. And I didn't even notice when it happened. Claire studied me for a moment. You're different now. Softer. Lighter. Or maybe I just stopped trying to fix what was never mine to fix. That too. I turned to her. You've been here through all of it. Why? She blinked. Why not? I wasn't exactly easy to be around, I said with a small laugh. Half the time I was a mess. Because you're real, she said simply. You don't hide the cracks. You make music out of them. Her words hung in the air. I felt something shift quietly inside me, not fireworks. Not sudden love, just recognition. Claire, I said softly, you ever feel like some people walk into your life not to change it, but to remind you it's still yours? She smiled. I think that's the only kind worth keeping. We sat there, eyes meeting, saying more in silence than words could hold. Finally, she stood. Come on, you owe me coffee. You promised if the song hit 1 million plays, you'd actually celebrate. I grinned. That was sarcasm. It's too late, she said, grabbing her bag. I take promises seriously. Outside, the sky was warm with evening gold. The same streets that once felt heavy now felt alive again. As we walked, Claire looked over. So, no more songs about heartbreak. I chuckled. Maybe 1 or 2. Old habits die hard, but, she prompted. But this time, I said, I'll write them from the other side of the pain. She laughed softly. Then I'll be here to make sure you don't turn them into tragedies again. I smiled, meaning it. You already did. For a long time, we just walked, no rush, no wait. Just quiet company and the sound of the city breathing, and somewhere deep down, I knew this was what real love looked like. Not the kind that demands saving, but the kind that simply stays. Asterisk, it took me weeks to write it, the last letter. Not to be sent, not to be read, but to finally say everything I never did by the time I finished. My hands shook from exhaustion more than emotion. The paper smelled faintly of sea salt. Maybe it was my mind already taking me there. I folded it once, slipped it into an envelope, and stared at it on my desk. Claire leaned against the doorway. You really doing this? Yeah, I said. But I'm not sending it, she frowned. Then what's the point? To stop carrying it, I whispered. She nodded slowly. You sure you want to be alone for this? I need to be. Then promise me one thing, she said softly. When you let go, mean it? I will. The drive to the beach was quiet. The same road I once took with Mara, laughing about futures that never happened. The ocean greeted me like an old friend, distant but constant. I parked near the dunes, letter in hand. The wind carried the faint sound of waves breaking, steady and rhythmic like breathing, Ethan. A voice called. I turned. It was Lila Mara's mother. Her hair had more gray now, but her eyes were the same soft brown I remembered. Lila, I said, surprised. What are you doing here? She used to love this place, she said quietly. I still come sometimes. Keeps her closer, somehow. I nodded. Yeah. She said it was where she felt most herself. Lila looked at the envelope in my hand. A letter, sort of, I said. More like the ending to something that's been running too long. She smiled sadly. You always had a poetic way of saying goodbye. Guess I've had practice, I said with a small laugh. She stepped closer. You know, She did love you, Ethan. I think she just didn't know how to stay. I looked out at the waves. Maybe that's what love is sometimes. Not holding on, but learning when to let go.
I lost.
Lila's eyes softened. I hope you find peace. I think I already have, I said. She touched my arm gently, then let her go properly. She walked away. I knelt in the sand. The letter felt heavier now, as if the words inside carried the last fragments of what I used to be. I opened it and read quietly to the wind. Mara, I don't hate you anymore. I did for a long time. But hate is just love that forgot how to speak. I wanted to blame you for everything. For breaking me, for leaving, for making me afraid to feel again. But the truth is, we both broke under the same weight. I forgive you, even if you never ask for it. Because this isn't about you anymore. It's about me learning how to breathe again. The words blurred as the wind caught the page. I held a lighter to the edge. The paper curled, blackened, then vanished in small bursts of flame. When the fire died, I picked up the ashes and let them fall into the sea. They scattered like dust in sunlight. Claire's voice echoed in my head. When you let go, mean it. So I whispered to the wind, this isn't revenge anymore. It's release, the ocean answered in waves. The silence that followed wasn't heavy. It was clean, light, final. I stood there for a long time, feeling the world settle inside me. No anger, no longing, just quiet. And for the first time since that night, she said goodbye. I wasn't waiting for anything. Asterisk, the studio smelled the same faint dust, old wood, and the ghost of 1,000 unfinished songs. I hadn't been here in months, but the air remembered me. I ran my fingers across the piano keys. You held everything, I whispered. Every rise, every fall. A familiar voice came from the doorway. I figured I'd find you here. Naomi leaned against the frame, her expression soft, curious. I thought you were working late, said I was. She replied, walking in slowly. But something told me to stop by. You always show up at the right time. Maybe you always wait until you're ready to be found. I smiled faintly. That sounds like something I'd write into a song, she laughed. You've probably already did. I played a single note. It echoed longer than I expected, soft, uncertain, but alive. Naomi sat on the edge of the bench beside me. That the new one? No, I said. It's the first one. The melody that started everything. She tilted her head. The one about her? I nodded. Yeah, but it's not about her anymore. She watched my hands move across the keys. It feels different now. Should, I said. Back then, it sounded like loss. Now, it sounds like breathing. Naomi leaned closer. Play it again. So I did. Slowly, quietly, no rush, no tremor in my fingers, just music filling the empty corners of the room. When I finished, she said nothing for a while. Then, softly, it's beautiful. It's honest, I replied. I used to think those were the same thing. Turns out, beauty's the part that survives the truth.
Ow.
She smiled. You've learned a lot. I had good reasons too. Pain? She asked. Yeah, I said. And forgiveness. Mostly for myself. Naomi brushed her hair back, her eyes warm. You look lighter, Ethan. Maybe because I finally stopped living inside old echoes. I can hear it in your voice, she said. You're not singing to the past anymore. No, I said. Now I just sing to whatever's left. And what's left? I looked at her. Everything that matters. She didn't respond. She didn't need to. Instead, she reached out, pressing one key gently, a soft note. Trembling under her touch, we both laughed quietly. You're terrible at piano? I teased. Good thing I'm not trying to impress you, she said. Good thing I stopped needing to be impressed. Her smile softened. So this is it? The final goodbye? Maybe, I said, but not the sad kind. She tilted her head. Then what kind is it? The kind that sounds like freedom. Sat there, side by side, our shoulders almost touching. The silence between us wasn't heavy anymore. It was peaceful, a quiet we both earned. I whispered, you know, for a long time I thought closure meant hearing sorry. And now, she asked. Now I think it just means silence that doesn't ache. Naomi smiled faintly. Then I guess you found it. Right here. She glanced at the piano. You going to keep it? I shook my head. No. Someone else needs it now. It already gave me everything I came for. Naomi stood, stretching. Then let's go. I looked around one last time. The posters, the scuffed floor, the faint marks where the sunlight hit the glass. Every inch of it carried a story, but none of them held me anymore. As we reached the door, Naomi said quietly, Ethan. Yeah, you're free now. I smiled, closing the lights. I know. The piano's last note still lingered in the air, soft and fading, and for the first time goodbye didn't hurt. It just felt right.